The Stevens Model 887, let's check it out. We're going old school. The Stevens Model 887 was a semi-automatic .22 rifle that was tube fed. There are a lot of unique features about this firearm. They were made from 1978 to 1980, and there were actually better models. This was one of the cheapest, but a great little shooter. But today we're just going to take a look at one of these oldies but goodies. A buddy of mine was selling a bunch of stuff that he inherited from his brother, and my wife was taking a look at a few things, and she found this in the garage. And so she called me, sent me a couple of pictures, and I said, oh yeah, let's check this out. The Stevens Arms Company started in 1864 and produced rifles, shotguns, especially .22s for a number of years. In 1920, they were bought by Savage and continued to build the Stevens name. In fact, they actually still sell Stevens firearms as some of their lower cost guns. Honestly, I've never seen any, but there's a lot of guns out there, so I'm sure they do. This is the Model 887, which again is a semi-automatic rifle. Very slim trim lines, but this is a budget firearm when it was sold, and there's a lot of things that cut corners, but yet this gun actually was very reliable for me, and we'll take a look at that at the range. Let's go ahead and check to make sure the gun is unloaded. Pull the bolt back, it's empty. Now this does have a small little charging handle, and it is plastic. If this breaks, you know, it may be difficult to get parts. You'll probably have to have one made, but just pull it back, and it's real short stroke, which for .22 long rifle. Now one of the most unique things about this rifle is the way that the bolt works. It's a two-piece bolt, and when you're firing it, it actually hesitates as you hold on to the trigger, and the round will not enter the chamber until you release the trigger. It's a very unique way. Even when shooting it at any time, you feel that kind of hesitation every time. But it shoots very regularly. And it's shot, again, very reliable. To my surprise, to be honest with you. It has a metal receiver, and it does have a dovetail for your rimfire type mounts. In fact, this came with a little scope that was actually a 4x15. Of course, it wasn't included with this one, but originally it had that included. The trigger guard is plastic. It does have a metal trigger, and then there's a small section right here that's polymer or plastic as well. The safety is right here next to the receiver, and honestly it's a little backward. You push it forward for safe, and then you bring it back for fire. Now here you'll see these two relief cuts right into the receiver right before you get to the barrel. And a lot of people refer to these as gills. Some of them have up to 6 on certain different models, but this one just has 2 gills. The barrel is 21 inches, and it is tube fed, which of course a lot of .22 rifles are that way. Just has a little catch here. Turn it, pull it out. It is an aluminum tube, and here at the end it actually has a little red follower, which this is a spring that goes up into the tube. This just helps guide the rounds. Once you get the tube down here, just take it and then just turn it, and it locks it into place. Right here in the tube is a place just to drop in your .22 long rifles, and this does hold 15 rounds. It has a rear sight with a small leaf, and you can adjust this up and down. In fact, at the range I had to actually adjust this some, and we'll look at that in a little bit. But then we have a dovetail right here where the sight fits in. Then here at the front we have a dovetailed post. It's just blacked out, and this can be moved over some for adjustment. And the barrel is crowned. It's more of a bevel, but this is going to protect your accuracy. Now it has a wood stock. One thing about this kind of wood, it doesn't absorb stains. So this is almost a painted on type finish. And I've seen that on a number of Marlins and different firearms, especially some of their inexpensive ones. The checkering itself is more pressed into the wood, even though you have it on the forearm and then also here at the pistol grip. And while it does give you a little bit of texturing, it's fairly shallow, and you can tell, I mean, it's just pressed into the wood, but it gives it a nice look. And the buttstock is just a black plastic piece with a little bit of texturing right here. Now the overall length is about 41.5 inches and it weighs 5 pounds, 8.8 ounces. We're going to check trigger pull weight with our Lyman trigger gauge from Brownells. £8 pounds, 5.1 ounces. 8 pounds, 0.8 ounces. This is not a competition trigger, this is definitely a field trigger. Guys, when it comes to old vintage rifles, sometimes you can have issues with them. Sometimes they're neglected, they're not really cleaned or maintained, broken parts, which are difficult to find. So when I got ready to take this to the range, I was pretty concerned, that I might not get good reliability. So I took 22 CCI mini mags down. I knew that they would function, and actually these function better with higher velocity ammunition. With the 22 CCIs, we had 0 malfunctions. Now I cleaned this really well when I first got it, wanted to make sure it was in good shape. And then, guys, it just functioned. 15 rounds in the tube and it just works. Now, we took some Federal bulk ammunition. I wanted to shoot through it. We had a lot of problems. We couldn't get it really to feed right. I've heard that it's really important to shoot high velocity ammunition in these rifles. It did come with a small scope on the rifle, as we talked about, but I wouldn't mind putting a nice little scope on here. But honestly, with these buckhorn sights, you're able to get decent accuracy. Now this one, the front sight again, was moved over just a little bit, and so I was shooting actually to the right, and I want to pop that over a little bit and get it lined up. The buckhorn sights, as I adjusted them down, I started to go down. Decent group at 25 yards without a scope, just with iron sights. Now we're going to go through the field strip just to show you how you need to do to clean it. All you need is this flathead screwdriver, and you do need some kind of Allen key or something really thin, and I'll show you about that in a second. Right here is your takedown bolt. There we go. You can see there's a little bit of the threads coming out a little thicker, and that fits into your action. Once the bolt's removed, just take your wood stock and take it off of the action. Now here you can see the internals, definitely a lot going on here, but it is pretty simple. You can see where your tube comes down and then it curves down this way, and then here is the little mechanism that feeds the round up into the top. And this is where we're going to have to use our Allen key to be able to hold this into place, but we'll use that in a second. First, we're going to remove the trigger guard, and you can see there's a screw at the front, and then there's a screw here that's actually behind this little piece, a little more difficult to get to. We're just going to go ahead and unscrew those. It's been a while since this gun has been disassembled. Short little screw. Then here with this screw, it's really blocked with this piece. We're going to see if we can get in here. I got one of my magnet tips out that fits that screw head a little better. Okay, we've got it coming. Guys, you need to really be careful with this screw. It's fairly difficult to get. I think I can do it with my fingers now. It's a very short little screw, very difficult to get to. And again, you don't want to strip that screw. Then we can just pull our trigger guard right off. You notice these little two detents, these fit right here into the receiver. And we have a little bit of just some gunk right there we just need to keep clean that off. Again, I think that's been years of just sitting. Now you want to take your Allen wrench or some kind of punch and just put it right here through that little slot. This is going to keep this from going forward. You can see that it is spring tension, and this is just going to hold it into place when we pull that bolt out. Now back here on the back, we're just going to unscrew this little back plate. Again, it is polymer. But it does have a metal sleeve. Here we go right here, and you can see that's just an overmolded piece. Next, we're just going to go ahead and pull out our mainspring and the rear part of the bolt, And you do have your firing pin right here. You can see it fits into that little T-notch. And so that's one part of the bolt. Once we get the firing pin out, we can remove the charging handle. And then we have plastic. And so this is one part I'm a little concerned about that could possibly break. Next, we're just going to pull our bolt back, and you can use the area right there that has the charging handle. Just fish it on out, and then the rest of your bolt comes out. But here you can see we've got the two bolts. They just fit together like this, and definitely needs to be cleaned up some. And then of course your firing pin rests right here into the top of the bolt, and then again it does hold in your charging handle. So this little slot in your charging handle fits in here. One thing I want to show on the bolt is it does have double extractors. This is pretty much all you need to do to field strip. You have your trigger housing right here, and you have your two pieces bolt, and you have your firing pin, and you have your charging handle, and then the rear part of the receiver. And once you do that, you can clean from the back, you can clean out your bore, and also you can keep your bolt and everything clean. The one thing about 22 rimfire is that it is pretty dirty, and so it's very important to be able to clean that. But really it's not that difficult. Now we're going to reassemble the firearm. Now we have the two parts of the bolt. We're going to reinsert the largest part without the spring, and you want this little groove to be at the top of the receiver. So make sure that your extractors are facing forward. Go ahead and just slide that in. And you want to push that all the way in until you see where the hole is, where the charging handle is inserted. Now once you see the hole in the bolt, you go ahead and put your charging handle in, and you want this little cutout piece to be at the top of the receiver. Be careful not to go ahead and push it all the way through, because this is your bolt hold open. You can see this, and it's going to lock it. So you bring it out just a little bit and then push your bolt forward, and that's where you set it. Next, we're going to take our firing pin and go ahead and insert it into the top of the bolt. You don't want to put it all the way in, because it's going to have to fit right here on this bolt. So take the firing pin and put it right in the top of the bolt like this, and then just insert it into the back. And your bolt should be closed all the way. Right here is the little spring tension. Next, we're going to take this rear cap, and we're just going to put it in and start screwing it on. Now you want to screw it until it's tight. Once it gets tight, you want to bring it back around, because you want it to fit with this slope right here at the top of your receiver. Next, we're going to go ahead and remove our Allen wrench. Take the trigger and those two bolts, and you want to set it right into there, into the bottom of the receiver. Go ahead and screw in the front screw. Not super tight. Next, we're going to put in that rear screw. We're going to hand tighten it as much as we can. Then we take our screwdriver and we just go ahead and tighten that down. Be careful, guys, it will strip it like I've said. Okay, we've got it tight. Next, we're going to take the action, put it back into the stock. Then we're just going to replace that screw into the stock. Well, we got it disassembled, and actually I got it clean. Took a little bit longer than I expected, but it's good, in good shape. The only thing I have a concern about, beside the charging handle being plastic, is that rear screw in the trigger guard. That's a little bit of a trick, and you know, it does kind of mess up the screw if you're not really careful. But otherwise, you know, it wasn't really that difficult. So guys, a lot of times, you know, you inherit or you have a friend that sells one of these rifles. They're not very expensive, typically under $100, and that's what we paid for this one. This one just happened to be in really good shape. They can have problems, and if you're looking for parts, that can be a problem. But, you know, there are some sources out there that you can find parts, and, you know, good luck. But this one just happened to be in really good shape, and so really enjoyed shooting it. Overall, I've heard good things about these little firearms, whereas they were really inexpensive, they seem to be pretty reliable. But again, make sure that you use higher velocity ammunition. Rubber Dummies is one of the best training tools on the market, and you get a 10% discount using Suit00 when you click the link down in the description. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. I decided to get some of my magnet tips out. Okay, shoot. Get out of here. Sorry guys, had a possum outside. Go ahead and get it inside there. Why isn't it doing it? Oh, there it goes right there. Next we're going to take our action and we're going to put it back into the stock. Whoops. And we want to get it started. No, that's right, that's right. And we're just going to get it kind of started. Wait, it goes this way.